today I am refilming my Rainbow Loom double braided bracelet tutorial using one loom, just because the quality of the previous video isn't that good and a lot of people were commenting that the instructions aren't explained very well. So today I'm going to try my best to explain everything so everyone can understand how to make the bracelet and make it easier for you guys. So you will need your loom, and you will be only using 2 rows of pegs, and you want to set your loom in this configuration so the arrows are pointing away from you, and the peg on the left should be longer than the peg on the right, just by 1 notch. So you will need 3 colors of bands. I'm just using some teal, some jelly pink, and yellow right here. And then of course you will need your hook, and you will need 2 extra hooks if you have any, or sticks, pencils, anything that will be holding the bands together, the loose ends later on. So to begin with, you are going to place 2 bands on the first peg on your left, and you're going to bring it up to the second peg on your right. So the teal bands will be the color that's going to be in the middle of the bracelet, and the pink and yellow bands will be on the sides. So I'm going to take 2 pink bands, and I'm going to place this on the first peg on your right, and you bring it to the third peg on your left. Now go back with your teal bands, placing it on the second peg on your left to the third peg on your right. Now taking 2 yellow bands, I'm going to place that on the second peg on my right and bring it to the fourth peg on the left. So this is pretty much the pattern that you are going to do until you reach the end of the loom. It's an X pattern. So all the bands that goes in the middle, or in my case the teal bands, will be placed pointing to the right. So it will go from the left side of the loom to the right side of the loom. And all the bands that goes on the sides will be placed from the right side of the loom to the left side of the loom. And you're going to alternate between 2 colors of bands. So mine is pink and yellow, so the next one should be pink. You place the middle color first, and then place the color that goes on the side of the band, the bracelet. So as you notice, I'm just alternating the colors for the sides of the bracelet. So now I have reached the end of my loom. I'm going to place 2 bands of the teal color, which goes in the middle of the bracelet. And then you want to take your loom and have the arrows pointing towards you, and we are going to start looping the bands. So you want to take 2 more of the middle color, which is teal in my case. You're going to place it on the first peg on your right. And then you're going to stretch it out. Place it on your finger and stretch it out. What I'm doing. And then you are going to start looping the first bands on your left, which should be the middle color. You're going to take those 2 bands and you're going to bring it to the second peg on the right. Once you've done that, you want to take the bands that's on your finger, place it on the first peg on your left, and you want to take the other end of it, which is on your right, on the first peg on the right. So take those bands, stretch it, and bring it to the first peg on your left as well. So you should have something that looks like this. And we are going to start with the actual looping process. So I'm going to start with the pink band, which I'm going to take and bring it to the third peg on the left. Taking my teal bands from the second peg on your left, bringing it to the third peg on your right. So you want to go inside the channel, taking those 2 yellow bands, bringing it to the fourth peg on my left. Go inside the channel, bring this on the right side of the peg. So you're basically working on the right side first and then the left side. So you just bring them back from where they came from. You know that you are doing it correctly if you see this kind of pattern on your loom, like a crisscross pattern. So I'm just going to continue till I reach the end of loom. Just going to continue looping the bands. So I'm done looping the bands until the end of the loom. Now this is the part where you're going to take your extra hooks or pen and you're going to grab the loose ends so it doesn't mess the bracelet. Now you want to take note, it would be nice if you have different colors of pen to use for this ones, just so you know which one goes where once we extend the bracelet at the bottom. So I'm going to use this pink one on the first loose end over here. It should be the middle color of the bands. So mine is teal. And then I'm going to use the blue stick on the second loose end, which is on the last peg on your left, which in my case is the pink, so it's one of the colors on the sides. And you want to take your hook and you're going to place that on the third loose end, which is the last one, that is on the last peg on your right. And the color of the bands should be the middle color of the bracelet. So I'm just grabbing them and then I'm going to start taking it off loom. So you have the first part of your bracelet right here. I'm gonna show you how to make the second part of the bracelet, or extending the bracelet using one loom. So you want to have your loom in the same configuration as earlier, with the arrows pointing away from you, and you're going to start placing the bands as we did before. So I'm going to take 2 teal bands, placing it on the first peg on my left to the second peg on my right. Taking 2 pink bands, placing it on the first peg on my right to the third peg on my left. I want to place 2 teal bands again on the second peg on my left to the third peg on my right, and then my alternating color for the sides of the bracelet is yellow, so I'm going to take my yellow bands, place it on the second peg on my right to the fourth peg on my left. So I'm going to continue doing that until I reach the end of the loom. You can stop halfway, it depends on the size of your wrist. So in my case, I have to use a total of 2 looms, but we're doing it on 1 loom, so we're doing the extension once all the way up to the end of the loom. So I'd like to stop right here. Now you want to take your the bracelet, the first part of the bracelet, and you want to take note of the color of the colors on the side, which band you stopped, or what color of the band you stopped looping your bands or creating your bracelet with. So in my case, I stopped with the pink bands. So when I place the bands on the second part of the bracelet, make sure you end with the opposite color on the sides of the bracelet. So if I stopped with the pink one, I should stop with the yellow one, placing the yellow bands on my loom. Because that way it will look seamless and it will look continuous, like you made it on 2 looms. Because if you stop with the pink bands, you're going to have 2 pink bands next to each other, which will kind of mess up the pattern of the bracelet. So you want to stop with the yellow bands, or the opposite color from where you last stopped on the first part of your bracelet. And then you're not going to place any teal bands or middle color bands next to this color of the bracelet that goes on the side. So you're gonna stop right there, and then you want to rotate your loom and have it facing towards you, the arrows facing towards you, and we are going to place the bracelet, the first part of the bracelet, on the pegs on our loom. So you want to start with the opposite color of the bands, or the color that goes on the side of the bands or the bracelet, which is my case the pink one. I'm going to start placing that on the loom, and you're going to place it on the first peg of where you last placed the bands, or where the bracelet ends. So that's where you're going to place that. And then you want to take the other stick and place it on the peg where you last stopped placing your bands on the right. And now taking your hook, you want to place those bands on the second peg on the right. And you should have something that looks like this. And then we're going to start looping our bands again. So I'm just going to fix the bands, straighten them up a little bit, and we're going to start looping on the right side first by taking the two bottom bands, which in my case is yellow. I'm going to take those two bands, bring it to the where it came from, in my case the second peg on my left. I'm going to go to the right side of your loom, the left side of your loom, grabbing those two bottom bands, should be the middle color, and you bring it up to the third peg on your right. And then you're gonna just start looping it again in a crisscross or X pattern, just like how you place the bands. Let me just put my loom down. So as you can see, I'm just looping the bands till I reach the end of the loom. Looping my last bands right there. And by the end of the bracelet, you will still have 3 loose ends. You just want to grab those loose ends. It will be the 3 pegs right here, which makes kind of like a triangle pattern. So take those 3 loose ends, starting with the peg right here, and then taking this, oops, you want to be careful with your loom because there's a lot of tension in these bands. So took all those 3 loose ends. I'm gonna try to take it off the loom. You just want to give it a stretch so the bands could hold it together, form their shape or their braid. So to secure those loose ends, you want to take 2 bands. I recommend using 2 bands. Slide it through those bands right there. Like so. And you want to make a slip knot by bringing these 2 bands inside the 2 bands on the right. And on the other end of your bracelet, this is a loose end as well. So there's a total of 4 bands in there, and you want to put all those bands on your hook. And what you want to do is make a slip knot as well on this end. And then you want to take the bands on the left through the bands on the right. So you make a slip knot by doing so. And now all you need to do is get your C-clip and attach it onto both ends of your bracelet, and that's gonna bring the bracelet together. Now if you have if you need to extend your bracelet the third time, you can do that by just repeating the instructions on the second part of the bracelet until you reach the length of the bracelet that you want. So I hope this tutorial has been a little bit easier than the first one before, and let me know what you want to see next. So I'll see you guys in the next video.